Well, hello there. I just finished recording one thing, but I now have thoughts on another thing. So why not? Why not come back here for a little bit and just do more recording? Because I like recording. I like putting out a decent amount of content for people to enjoy. And the Warhammer stuff didn't, specifically the 40K stuff tends to get better views and things like that. So that's fine. But I also like talking about Warhammer Fantasy. One of my favorite things about Warhammer Online in particular is the idea of like humans, elves, and dwarves working together. I really like that a lot. I really like it when you get alliances and things like that. I really like it when people put aside their differences and fight together. I always really like that. And it's not like I think the relationship of the Empire to other nations is pretty interesting, but I already have a video on that. I also think it's kind of interesting that everybody's sort of on edge and doesn't really super trust each other, but at the same time, it's like, the smart folks are like, big chaos is bad, probably bad worse than all other thing. Maybe no, let it spread. And I kind of just like the idea. I also find it interesting because if you read some of the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay books, you can read about like elves in the Empire and the stuff they do. Like sometimes they're courtesans and they're like, or they just like to hang out. Which I mean, I don't know. I guess if you're an elf and you wanna just like hang out and be like, oh yeah, I'm just hanging out in the Empire, and just maybe like you court a noble and the noble is like, oh hey, you're like a pretty elf lady, can I touch you? And then she's like, maybe. And then like you get into the spirit of things, and I mean, I don't know, I always like the idea of like elf and human romances. I think it's just kind of a nice thing. And maybe you can do some interesting stuff with that, or like maybe like the elves people don't really take this romance super seriously. Actually, I'm gonna wave to this person. Hello, I'm Yamina. Eh. I think she's trying to heal him. Ooh, good try. But yeah, there's kind of a lot of us here. I'm sorry. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to. Oh dang! I keep hitting need. I should stop hitting need. Because I don't need this stuff. Oh, don't laugh at her. Come on, that's not nice. That priest man laughed at the disciple of Cain. That's not nice. Don't do that. But yeah, I always like it when like you talk about like different people uniting and things like that. And it's like people. I think I talk to a lot of people and they always think of like dwarves in the Empire, but there's a decent number of elves in the Empire, or more than zero. But I kind of like the idea specifically of being uh, a person from Araby, an Arabian in the Empire, and like maybe just like kind of walking around and documenting stuff. Like you just walk around and you're just kind of documenting like, oh, so this is how the Imperials live, and here's the stuff they're doing. Here are their gods, and I don't know. I just think that would be kind of a fun little book, or like maybe like you like have it so there's like an adventure, and it's like a oh, there's not any supplies here. That's fine. I'm a horse on a ship. It's a weird fish you got decorating you there. But like, yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. Or like maybe just like an Arabian explorer going about, you know, you could be like you could like make like an Ibn Battuta, but in Warhammer, and I think that'd be kind of neat. Take the box, friend. Take the box, friend. Then I will escort you back. But yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. I I think if there's something I would like it if the old world explored, which I don't think they're going to very much, is I would like it if they explored Araby more and like maybe Cathay or like the Southlands or something like. I think that would be kind of cool. Just like explore some of these places and just kind of give them their own interesting culture and things like that. Um, I have heard multiple people say that you probably couldn't do Araby because it's too racist. But I don't know about that per se because I think there's a fairly decent amount of stuff you can do with, you know, like an Arabian or like a Middle Eastern themed faction without necessarily needing. And you don't have to stick strictly to what's already been. You can kind of write it in what would be maybe considered a more interesting way without having to. I mean, because you can write a lot of Middle Eastern history is so cool, and there's like so much going on, and there's so much going on with the various different empires and various different like sects of Islam, and like there's religious and political stuff all happening the whole time. It's really interesting. And there's also like lots of little areas that you probably wouldn't expect, like little different things going on, like different small communities at times becoming very powerful. I mean, like it's pretty interesting. For instance, if you ever like look at like the Druze and the history of the Druze or the history of the Yazidis and like there's various other or like there's like these small esoteric groups that sometimes come about that are pretty neat. One of my little favorite groups to read about is the Mutazilites. They were very interesting because they were a group of Muslims who basically thought that every thing you could learn about religion, everything, if you wanted to like prove the existence of God, you could like look to the world to prove it. They're a pretty interesting little group. Oh wow, that was like a lot of experience for that for some reason. Need crest. How many crests do I have? I think I have a decent number. But yeah, they're pretty cool. There's some pretty cool groups and stuff like that. And I think um something I like specifically about playing in pre-existing um worlds and things like that is especially if you know a decent amount about them, you can find like little small groups that you wouldn't normally think about. Like you could find like little you can find like yeah like the Arabians in the Empire or the people from Cathay in the Empire. Like there's like an entire district of that in Altdorf that you can read about, or you know like the elves in the Empire, and just like maybe just like writing a little bit about like foreign peoples in this kind of strange imperial land. Maybe they learn to appreciate certain things about the Empire, like its tenacity and its Well, that didn't quite work as intended. Oh well, that's fine. Well, she's a witch elf. Maybe I should make a witch elf. I don't know. I feel like I'd just be too distracted by the butt, and I'd be like, why is my butt showing? Stop it. Do a stop it. I want to be a lady who's not just walking around with her butt showing. I mean, if you want to be a lady with your butt showing, that's fine. You do that. But I don't want to do that. That's not the way I like to dress. I like to dress with armor and cool things. But I mean, yeah, I kind of like that idea. Or like, you can kind of do that a little bit in Age of Sigmar too, because like one of the cool things about the Free Cities of Sigmar is that they're kind of open to you being able to run around and do things like that. Like you can have like some dark elves. I'm pretty sure there's like at least one story I read where one there was a dark elf lady who had a human free guild captain boyfriend, and that was a cute little story. I like a little romance. I like a little unpredicted romance in my stories, but there uh or different romances, different worlds coming together, stuff like that. Wait, where? Oh no, they're attacking the northern one. The shrine. I think that kind of stuff is pretty cool. I also think that when you have people who are like strangers in a strange land, you can kind of uh, also poke at some of the more interesting aspects of like what makes a world, what makes the empire, and what is it that would like, if you were like a foreigner inside of the empire, what would probably like be weird to you, and what would make you go like, I don't like this, or I think, or maybe something that you would appreciate. I mean, it would be kind of interesting to maybe take somebody from like Albion, for instance, and like put them in that situation and be like, what do they appreciate about the Empire, but what do they also think is like bad, or like maybe they're one of the human tribes from Albion. They're like they notice like it is nice to have like more civilization and to have like more like advanced armor, and maybe there's stuff like that that's nice, but maybe it's also like, yeah, but like there isn't as strong of a sense of community. Like there is some sense of community, but there's also a lot of backstabbing, and there's also a lot of like, because in Albion you wouldn't get anywhere near the same power disparities that you would get in the Empire. So you could kind of point, it's like that's weird, like I don't like it. uh, like maybe you could also write like nobles who are like disenchanted with nobles. I mean, and there is stuff that talks about like revolution, like Felix Jaeger is involved in the window tax riots, for instance, and that's kind of an interesting thing to have going. Does that wait, like one, two, three, four, five? Okay, no, there is just five. There, his foot is just kind of shaped weird. Low poly Sigmar. Abstract art Sigmar. Hi, what you doing? Okay, bye. Bye. Have fun. But I think you can do some stuff like that, and I think it could be very interesting. Um, why would we surrender? What? Box. I also kind of like the idea of like, if you're familiar with the 30 Years' War, maybe you can kind of play around, or like with the time period, you can kind of play around with like elements, of like real history to sort of like make some interesting stories in the Empire, and you can kind of like question like some of the stuff that's going on, like why is this going on, and or like I I wrote Yamina to be this lady from like Arabia or Araby, I should say, to who wants to like free slaves and wants to like make the empire and other parts of the world a better place, and they like use their connections to do so. And you can kind of point out like how what is even the point of a lot of nobility if the only thing they're going to do is like fatten themselves up and get their wallets, their coffers full. Like the idea of, and it's kind of interesting to question nobility too. I really like Terry Pratchett kind of points this out in the City Watch books, where it's like someone says they're royal and people start bobbing up and down because of like honor the crown, like to honor like someone who the only reason they're like important is because their ancestor was a bigger murderer than anybody else. It's like, well, yeah, and that's kind of, I think that's kind of an interesting way to look at it, because like in most cases, what is nobility other than just your ancestors in the past killed a bunch of people and took over a bunch of land? Like nobility is sort of this meaningless concept that people put a lot of meaning onto. And in a place like the Empire, you would think it would be really easy to just point out like the vast majority of people who are quote unquote nobles aren't doing anything for like their people. They're ruining the Empire. They're making it more difficult. And like the people who are like Karl Franz are like real warriors who like want to you know help the people of the Empire are kind of few and far between. And that like a lot of the people who are in nobility are just making things worse. And it would be kind of interesting if you like pointed out though that maybe like for instance like a witch hunter doesn't actually want you, even if they agree with you, even if they agree with you that nobles are mostly a blight. Maybe the problem is that with everything constantly pushing in from the outside, like with chaos pushing in from the outside and things like that, it's like you can't just have a revolution. I guess we have to be in the party for us to both get it. Maybe. I don't know. Um, and maybe they're like trying to talk about it and like what does it mean, for instance, to like support the Empire if like this is what the Empire, and it's something I understand. It's just because it's the way Warhammer was written. But like, I think it would be much more interesting if Araby had a bigger part in it, if Catte had a bigger part in it, especially like even like the end times is like it was basically, oh, the white people died, so now everything's doomed. And it's like, oh, well, that's kind of lame. I know that's not what they were intending, and it's just like, well, they've written so much about um, this particular group. They've written so much about the Empire, so that's just kind of what you should expect in a way. I understand that, but at the same time, I can't help but say, looking back on it, it's just kind of. I think that there's a lot of. I think there was a lot of really interesting stories you can tell in the Empire, but a lot of the stories you get are just kind of are just very typical, I guess. And that's not to say that they're all bad. I have the omnibus of the Empire at War and Knights of the Empire over there, and like a couple others. And I really do think that even within those traditional story structures and those traditional like narratives, they're still really good narratives. It's not like they're bad narratives. I just think it would maybe be a little bit more interesting if we had okay, I was at 11. If we had maybe some more jump the horsey, jump the horsey, jump the horsey, jump the horsey. What is that? Oh, is this door? It's a very loud door. And I think that you can do a lot with that, and that's really interesting. And I kind of want to write some short stories, sort of based in the Empire, and about like stuff like that, like just about like the little unexpected groups and like some of the fun things they have going on. I think that would be kind of cool. Do you know the amount of white lions I've seen name their lion Simba? It is quite it is quite a lot. Grab it, Butterlock! Run! Run and turn in our supplies! Is Destro even coming out to try and fight us at this point? Probably not. I think there's just way more of us than there are of them. So I just don't think they're coming over here. Which, I mean, I get it, because like it's not even really a fight. It's basically you show up and there's so many more of us than there are you that we're just gonna beat the smacking out you. Mercedes Amg. Mercedes Amg. Amg. But yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. And I've been considering doing that, but I've also been considering just writing within my own narrative, because I've been working on this world stuff for a little while. Well, kind of on and off. And I have my fantasy setting and my sci-fi setting, and my fantasy setting is based, at least in part, kind of on a lot of the ideas in Warhammer that I like. I took some of the stuff, but I tried to add a lot. I tried to make it more interesting. I tried to make it less, just kind of a different vibe, I guess. And I think it's come out pretty interesting, and I'm trying to keep it interesting, but we'll see. I might just write some Warhammer Fantasy stories, just because it might be a bit of fun to just write some Warhammer Fantasy stories, and just write these little short stories and maybe post them out there. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential for that. I also think there's, and I would say that there's some pretty good, gosh dang it. She jumped right in front of me so I couldn't grab it! You lady! How dare you! I was going to do a grabbing. But it's okay. We can all do a grabbing. But, yeah, I don't know. I just think those are some fun ideas, and we'll see. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll post them somewhere and share some of the ideas I have for, like, little short stories and things, and I really enjoy writing little shorts and stuff like that. Oh, we've now locked it. Well, let's see, we've locked 2 areas. I am not even close to getting to at least the basic reward. Diggity darn, diggity darn, diggity dig, diggity wiggity darn. Oh well, that's fine. I don't have to be that close. I can take my time and have rhyme and do a little dance with my pants. Pants dance. Pants dance. Pants dance. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, I just hope you enjoy listening to me ramble about some of my thoughts, and hopefully you guys are all having a wonderful day, and I hope that you have a day full of blessings and good cheer and love of your fellow peoples, and the love of God, and big hugs and things like that. Okay, everybody, I hope you all have a wonderful time. Bye, love you, bye. God loves you, bye. Bye, love you, bye.